aboard USS Wasp. Hopefully we've had an opportunity to come on board, see what the crew does, see some flight ops, see the complexity of what we do here. What you saw, it's kind of neat watching F-35 land, and that's always impressive. But the real impressive thing, I think, if you look the next level down, is the coordination that goes on here on the flight deck amongst the whole crew between the 31st MEU and the crew of the Wasp in order to make this happen safely. So the speed and the safety of which the flight deck works that make it an expert operation. So you saw those aircraft come in very quickly, one after another, simultaneously while we're loading MV-22s, bringing the SAR Helo in, and making all this work while coordinating with the other ships and making sure this is a safe operation. So and it's with great pride that the crew of the USS Wasp is able to participate in this exercise. And I'll tell you, they have loved their time here so far in Australia, and we would like to thank you for your hospitality in Sydney. That was fantastic.
This is a very capable warship. I think it's the most capable warship that we have in the United States Navy. Not because of necessarily its combat power alone, but the things that it can do outside of combat. From humanitarian assistance, we can branch the full spectrum of operations from humanitarian assistance to combat operations. And it's not just the ship that's critical to that. It's the ARG-MEU team that we have. It's the teamwork that we have with the 31st MEU. Together we did humanitarian relief operations in Guam last year. We're down here training for Talisman Sabre, and when you embark the MAGTAF, you increase the capabilities of this ship exponentially. You've got a 5th generation fighter on the flight deck that can extend our reach, extend our combat power, and you've got vehicles that the Marines carry that can produce water. We can bring folks onto the ship. We've got a very capable hospital. You don't have that capability in any other ship in the United States Navy that you have on the USS Wasp.
Interoperability really is the way of the future. When we talk about operating with allies, operating with partners, interoperability allows us for our systems, our ability to communicate, our ability to work together. So that is something we place a premium on. Obviously, we've been operating with our Australian allies and partners for quite some time. But every nation and every sovereign nation may do their procedures or may have systems that are a little bit different. So part of that is working those exact things and that really is as much art as it is science. As we have our Japanese partners and allies out here, so as we grow and share the problem set and take on whatever the combined challenges that the region presents, absolutely a premium that we can fight, move, communicate together. So I think very, very important, and something that we are focusing and continue to work. And it's never something that's static. It is something that you work every day, both in your procedures, your communications, and then looking more long-term with nations and looking to buy or purchase and operate systems that we know are designed to be compatible.
Again, it's great to be operating out here with our Australian partners. We've been partners for over 100 years in every major conflict since World War I. The Australians and the Americans have fought side by side, and that's no different than today. I think our relationship is built on a foundation of shared values and ideals. First and foremost is respect for international law. Operating with our Australian counterparts here during Talisman Sabre really helps enhance our combat effectiveness and our ability to conduct high-end military operations. So it's great to be here. Really cherish the relationship that we have with our Australian counterparts, our Australian partners, and again, happy to be here.
I think what you're seeing out of the LHD class ship collectively, now that we have our embarked F-35 Bravo on board, I think you're getting a collaborative increase in capability that I think is a substantial step forward and a substantial increase in combat capability with that platform. It is particularly useful, I think, in this theater. This is there are challenges out here and that require high-end combat equipment. I think the F-35 is just the preeminent piece of kit that we now have within the RQ team, and I think it's definitely taking us to another level of lethality. Certainly, we've actually been flying missions where they've been operating together. So again, we're discovering, along with the Australian Air Force and their F-35s, I think it's not only a great capability, but it's also, because so many countries are now incorporating that asset into their military, it's just another level of partnership, another level of interoperability that we talked about, where we can share information, share the way we conduct our tactics so that we're prepared for conflict.
The F-35 is here to support Marines on the ground. Specifically, we're excited with Talisman Sabre to be landing Marines on the beach and have the F-35 overhead in support for all sorts of MAGTF operations, whether it be AAVs, LCAC landings, helicopter operations, things like that. It's been fantastic so far. It's really a good piece of gear, so it does everything that legacy platforms do, plus a lot more. And so integrating it with the Navy and with the Marine Corps has been fantastic aboard the ship.
We're super excited to have this opportunity. The 31st MEU and our CTF 76, along with Fibron 11, we come down every 2 years and literally is the highlight. The Marines are so excited to be here. We've had an incredibly warm welcome. Not only the professional relationships that we're developing, but the personal relationships I think are critically important too, because we're building long-lasting understanding and bonds that I think when called upon crisis, which is what we are, we're a crisis response force, we will be prepared to align with our partners, with our allies, ultimately to make sure that we maintain freedom and the opportunities for everyone to live in a peaceful environment where we avoid crisis and avoid the challenges that sometimes we're faced with, and just live in a peaceful place where prosperity can rule. And I mean that from the sincerity of my heart, and I know that that's what we're all here to do, and it's great to align with friends, quite frankly, that see the world, I think, in the same light. So excited about that. Tomorrow is a big day. It's D-Day for us. So we're going to conduct a forcible entry onto a beach up here. We're going to put all of our tracks in the water. As a matter of fact, we're right now prepping for rehearsal on that. And then tomorrow will be our full main event, where we're going to put quite a few tracks in and Marines and align with our Australian partners, putting soldiers on the beach for our large amphibious assault.
The LCAC is an all-aluminum hull craft. It was designed to carry all the Marine rolling stock from ship to shore. No longer really are the days you see in like Saving Private Ryan where they do beach assaults like that. The LCAC is designed to drive straight up on the beach. So the LCAC is capable of hitting 70% of the world's beaches. It's powered by 4 gas turbine engines. Each produce 5,000 horsepower, so we have 20,000 horsepower. We carry everything from howitzers, LAVs, Hummers, and even Abrams tanks of speeds up to 50 knots. It's an all-enlisted crew. It's the only community in the Navy where we get this much responsibility. It's about a 9-month pipeline to get qualified to fly it. The crew consists of 6 people. You have a craft master, engineer, a navigator, a load master who's responsible for all the loads that go on deck, and you have 2 deck engineers that assist me with all the maintenance. And also my eyes and ears, because I can't see behind me when I'm in the cabin. Majority of the LCACs are over 30 years old. There's a couple of replacements in the pipeline for it, but they just keep extending these. These were originally designed to be a 20-year craft. Most of them are well over 30 years old now.
Down to the well deck, but this is the upper vehicle storage area, and then and down below we have a lower vehicle storage area, and that's where we keep all of our Marines' equipment that's going to be required to go ashore. So our primary mission for the ship is getting our Marines wherever the nation calls, or is to assist others or where needed in the world. So one of those options is via surface craft, like you saw, the LCAC, and this is where we'd be storing a lot of the Marines' equipment that would be going ashore to assist them in their efforts.
It is going extremely well. We've been working with the same Marine Corps squadron now for about a year and a half. The initial operational confusion that you normally have the first couple months going on is well behind us now. The flight deck crews are working seamlessly with the Marine maintenance and getting those aircraft on and off. So extraordinarily proud of the crew to be the first to do this. Wasp came a long way for all the way from the East Coast to Norfolk to come out precisely to do F-35 ops and to cover down for Talisman Sabre. And I think we're hitting our stride right now, and everything's working pretty well. Having the full complement of what U.S. Navy capabilities is always allows us to just expand our spectrum of operations. Wasp is an amphibious assault ship. Somebody calls it a light carrier, depending on how you want to configure the deck. But the capabilities of a crew des unit that we normally don't have on board just expands our operational capability.
Welcome to Flight Deck Control. This is where we relay communications out to the flight deck for fueling, evolutions, parking, which is called respotting, and 840 feet of real estate on board on top side here. As you can see right here, I wrote some little notes down in case it happened. We have 23 aircraft topside. We have 19 on the flight deck, and we have 4 below decks in it, which is the hangar bay. The hangar bay is normally used for operations. Hangar bay for maintenance, for opening panels, so the elements on top side will not rupture or corrode, cause corrosion in some of the aircraft. If you see the markings on the flight deck, they are VLA, visual landing aids, for the pilots, and also we have a lighting system that helps out for visual landing aid as well for nighttime. Right here is my elevator operator personnel. Fueling personnel, which is for fuel. She coordinates the fuel from in here to the flight deck to the personnel out there. She has a fuels crew out there as well. So this is what we call up here, it's called penology, is what we use for every item on the deck. Like we have, this is the second go, the yellow. Okay, let me start off here. First, we have this is green go, which is the first go. Then we have a second go, third go. High powers, ordnance, as you can see, fuels, defuels, TOD, which is tail over deck, which will bring the aircraft forward so it can conduct maintenance over deck. Pushing it back will be tail over water. We have the 120-minute alerts, meaning they have to be up in the air at that time. If not, we shouldn't be out here because it's very simple. Right here is what ordnance, when they're loaded, if they have them off. There's no ordnance on them. This is the Tilly, exactly the crash crane that we use in case we have an aircraft crash in LA, which we consider the phase 3 for lift. There's 2 phases. The first phase is the aircraft fire, which is the basic fire. Phase 2 is the 20K, which is a forklift, and which is only used for only one aircraft, the lift of the aircraft if one of the tires is blown out. Now, if you have 2 or more tires, that we consider a lift for phase 3.
Talking to the air boss who's managing the air picture inside of like 5-10 miles, give or take, who then brings them down to the deck. That's when he owns them, but he also has to coordinate that stuff that's happening underneath the deck that he alluded to. So as folks are making bombs, putting everything together, bringing them up, that's when he has to coordinate getting them out on deck, getting them loaded onto the birds so that they can get out on time, and everything that he does has to be timed correctly. But his job is just absolutely enormous, and the job that the team does in here and on the flight deck is absolutely amazing, just to watch that choreography of everything that's happening, and he's kind of the nerve center for what's going on up here.
So down here is the hangar bay, and what you can see is what we've got laid out in front of you here is some layout designs of how we plan and prioritize not only logistics movements, but aircraft support, and then aircraft rework and fixing. So this is how the team of not only the hangar deck, AIMD, and the ship's crew work to play the big Jenga puzzle that we call the hangar bay. So as you look around, all of the different pieces of gear that you can see stacked all over the hangar bay, up on the mezzanines, everywhere you look, all has a purpose. So it's either aircraft replacement parts or gear that it takes to actually do the work on the aircraft, and it's all orchestrated and moved around based on what we have going on with flight ops that day, and then aircraft rework and maintenance that goes on in the hangar. So from there, you can see there is a lot of moving pieces and parts when you put a lot of people in a small area to conduct air and support operations on a day-to-day basis. So you can only imagine, this is just what it looks like when it's laid out here. All the meetings and the cooperation that has to go on to make this move and to make it sync every day can get overwhelming. We have a series of about 110 sailors and 50 Marines that work together to fix aircraft parts. So a lot of the gear that you see down here helps us do that, and that's the section that I own. You also have hangar bay workers that are part of the ship, that are Navy, that work to move a lot of this gear around and operate the gear. And then you've got 265 that's got pilots, maintainers, squadron O-level technicians that actually perform the maintenance on the aircraft in the hangar bay.
V-22 is a assault support airframe, which means her specialty is really one of several things, but mainly transporting troops and cargo from the behind enemy lines and into hot LZs. Typically, we can carry up to 16,000 pounds either inside or external to the aircraft, and that's either going to be cargo or putting combat-loaded troops in one of our 23 seats in the back of the aircraft. Combat radius of the V-22 is approximately 300 miles, which means we can take off from the ship, go 300 miles inland, remain on station for about an hour or so, loitering there, dropping off troops, and staying on station for any sort of contingencies that may occur, and then bringing those troops back to the ship, back where it's safe. As you can see, we got about 10 aircraft here on board right now, but we typically deploy no less than a section for mutual support. That's 2 aircraft, but we can work all the way up to 5 or 6 aircraft at a time in one formation. Typically, VMM 265 operates as exclusively a V-22 squadron, but when we joined the MU, the Marine Expeditionary Unit, we almost doubled the size of our squadron by accepting detachments from the CH-53 community. So 4 of those aircraft, 6 F-35s, and then approximately 8 H-1 aircraft as well, which are right now on the Green Bay. So that'll double the size of our squadron, double the size of the number of pilots, the number of maintainers, but they all come to MCAS Futenma on Okinawa, and from there we'll deploy as the aviation combat element, so just a small piece to the overall Marine Expeditionary Unit. The VMM 265 CO is the aviation combat element commander, and that he controls not only the V-22s but also the 53s, the 35s, and the H-1s as well.
It's one of the great things I look from other counterparts, other squadrons. It's such a rare opportunity to be able to come out to Japan and Australia, whereas other squadrons back in the States, they don't get those opportunities just from where they are. So very thankful to be out in Australia and see somewhere I've never been before.
We're here on board the Wasp as the search and rescue detachment along with fleet logistics. We also can do combat support, so we'll do combat search and rescue, we can do soft support, and just any other logistics that the ESG needs while they're out afloat.